One of the really special plants here on the Burrcoed Preserve is a really remarkable oak that's on the Pennsylvania Big Trees list. And this is called the Burrcoed oak, and it's a tree that has a lot of points, and they use a points system to enter trees onto the state Big Trees registry. And it's first just a beautiful tree because it's grown for a long time with a lot of space around it. So it's an oak that has the form that an oak develops if it actually isn't crowded. So it's not narrow and columnar like those tulip poplars in the forest, but it's got this huge sort of spherical shape because it's had all the space in which to grow. And I'm just going to go up and take you to the sign, and we'll let you actually see what it looks like up close. Although it's a really big oak, it turns out that as oaks go, it's not a super old oak. It hasn't been alive for hundreds and hundreds of years, like some oaks do survive for 300 and 400 years, going back to the time of even William Penn. But this is a sign about this oak aging gracefully, and I'll actually get an image of that sign, and we'll just show you that in fact it's a white oak, Quercus alba. Alba is the species name for white. And actually the determination is that this tree is probably only 120, maybe 150 years old. So it's a tree that just goes back to maybe about 1900, maybe even the late 1800s. So it's not an ancient tree, but it's certainly a beautiful tree, and it could easily hope to live another 400 years if it was given a full life and a healthy life. So I just want you to see the spread of the tree, the number of leaves on it. There's thousands and thousands of leaves, and oaks are actually a really important part of the ecology of Pennsylvania forests. Lots of other species that depend on oaks and rely on oaks as a source of food and as a home, and that's partly because oak leaves are food for some animals, especially insects, but also of course oaks produce acorns. So there's your beautiful Burrcoed oak here at the Burrcoed Preserve. This is a white oak, Quercus alba, with just spectacular maroon red coloring right now on the foliage. So those beautiful maroon leaves are white oak. And then if I look a little bit to the left of it, I see this trunk that just goes up and up and up and up. And of course, you know what that's going to be. Something that tall, that straight up top. That is our tulip poplar, Felix the cat, Liriodendron tulipifera. This is a willow oak. It's actually a pair of willow oaks that are up here on the high soccer field, or also left field of the baseball field. And it's Quercus phellos. This tree has a leaf that most people don't think of as being very oak-like at all. It's a long, narrow leaf, smooth, glossy, and it has no teeth. It's got a smooth edge, and that's really important to distinguish it from willow trees. So it's got a smooth edge. It's anywhere from about 3 to 5 inches long, but quite narrow over the whole length. Doesn't taper much, kind of just ends bluntly, abruptly, in a blunt tip. It's got some substance to it, so it's kind of a thicker, leathery leaf compared to a willow tree, which is a little thinner. So I don't think you'd ever mix this up for willow, but that's Quercus phellos, the willow oak, and it's a southern tree. So it's a native oak, but it's particularly common as you get in the South and Mid-Atlantic, but Pennsylvania is a great habitat for it. This is also a tree that's planted in abundance at the Philadelphia Zoo. You can see some fantastic specimens of willow oaks at the zoo. Quercus phellos, your willow oak. This is a nice example of a silver maple, and as the wind blows and turns the leaves over, you can see why it's called a silver maple. As you look, you're going to see the undersides of the leaves have a really silvery white color. There's the wind blowing. You can see all the silver on the undersides being shown, and that's its name, the silver maple. And the reason it's called silver maple is because of that coloration on the underside of the leaves, which is really showing up right now as the wind blows and flips some of them over. I'll show you a leaf up close. It's actually among our maples the most elaborate, ornate of all of the maple leaves. It's like a snowflake. So this leaf is the most divided, the most decorated, the most incised. So here is a single silver maple leaf. It's got a lot of teeth. It's got deep incisions between the lobes. Let's get another one. Here's a really nice one. Nice example. Classic maple leaf shape. Tooths on the lobes, but look how divided the lobes are, deeply divided. So I call this the most ornate of all of the maple leaves, the silver maple. It's the most like a snowflake, whereas when we look, we'll see that the sugar maple is kind of the simplest of all the maple leaves. So I got a nice silver maple right here, a lot of different examples of the leaf form that are in front of us, but think of it as like a snowflake and the most ornate of all of our maples. So we're still walking here on this beautiful breezy day at the Burrcoed Preserve, but I wanted to show you some soybeans. Soybeans are so important as a food species, but of course they're also a member of the bean family and the Fabaceae, and we talked about them. These are soybean fields, so you can see these right here. I'm going to walk up because I want you to see what a soybean looks like. Soybeans are grown a lot in Pennsylvania, alternating with corn. And the reason is that soybeans put nitrogen back in the soil, and corn is a really heavy feeder. So the soybean is called glycine max. Check it out. I was walking up this soybean plant, and what you see here, these are soybeans. So here's the plant, right? And the plant actually is producing nitrogen in its roots and putting it back into the soil. But look at all these beans. Oh my gosh, these plants are covered in fuzzy beans. So if you've ever ordered edamame, right? Edamame or soybeans, and here you can just see what they look like. They're still fattening up, but these bean plants with those bean leaves, and there's a, check it out, we got like a whole field of them here in the breeze. Ah, that's beautiful, just to see the wind moving through the soybeans. So those soybeans are actually going to get harvested in another couple weeks. They're not quite there yet, but there's a lot of protein, an enormous amount of protein in these beans and in these fields. Y'all should get out here. It's pretty awesome.